Hello guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about arrays in JavaScript. So what are arrays? Arrays are a way of storing multiple values inside of one variable. So let's say we want to store student names inside of our array. So let's say variable and let's call it array, and we use square brackets, and we can store names of our students. For example, let's say Mod, and then say John and Mike, for example. Okay, and then we can log this array. We open up the console through Control Shift J. You hit these buttons together and you get the console opened up, and here's our array. Okay, and we can get the length of an array through a property called length. So if I do dot length, and that will give me 3. If I change this to 4, for example, and let's just say John 2, and this now is 4. The length of our array is 4, and we can access the items inside of our array by doing this. For example, if I say here square brackets and then 0, that will give me Mod. And if I do 1 here, that will give me John, the second item inside of our array. If I do 2 here, that will give me Mike, the third item inside of our array. Okay, so let's change this back to only 3 items. So remember that arrays are 0 indexed, so the first element inside of any array will always have the index of 0, and the second will have index of 1, and this will have the index of 2, and so on. Okay, and we need to note also that the last element of an array is always gonna have the index of the length of an array, minus 1. So the index of last item is gonna be the length of this array minus 1. Now if I do, because here if we start counting here, we will say 0 and then 1 and 2. So the length of an array is 3 and the index of last item is 2. So the index of last element is always going to be less than the whole length of an array by 1. So if I change this to item 4, for example, here the index of last element will be 3, and the length of an array of this array is 4. So remember that if you want to get the index of last element, we can use this formula, the length of an array minus 1. That will give us the index of last item. Okay, so here we can say array dot length minus 1. So here the array of the length of this array is 4, and 4 minus 1 would be 3, and 3 is the index of this item. Okay, so if I save this here, notice we get item 4. If I change this array size, for example, I will still always I will always have the last item. Okay, now we will learn how to iterate over an array. So what if you want to print this array items, and we can use a for loop, and we can say variable, and let's call it I, start with 0 here. Note that here we are starting from 0, because whenever we want to iterate over an array, we have to start with 0, because as we said earlier, the first element of array will have always the index of 0, and we can say I is less, as long as I is less than 3, so keep incrementing I, and we can say console.log array and then square brackets, and we will put I inside here. Okay, and that will give us the 3 items of inside of our array. Okay, because here I is gonna on the first iteration will be 0, and on the second iteration it would be 1, and on the third iteration it will be 2. So 0, 1, and 2. Okay. And we can change this here. For example, instead of hard coding this length of array, we can use array.length. So here, if I do another item here, for example, item 1 and item 2. So no matter how long this array is gonna be, this for loop will always give us the whole items of this array. Okay, so if we change this array, for example, we add a new item, or we simply removed one item, we don't have to touch this code here. Okay, because array.length will always give us the actual length of an array, how many items inside of it. Okay, now if we summarize what we learned in this video, we can, let me paste this in here. And so number 1, arrays are 0 indexed. So the first item of an array will always have the index of 0, and we can access the size of an array by using the length property, and the index of last item inside of array will always be the length of array minus 1, or the size of array of array minus 1, and we can use array.length to iterate over array items. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. See you in another one.